Hi folks, today we are at Tequeni Toyota in Durban and we've got an awesome Land Cruiser 200 series here, and we're going to take you through a step-by-step guide on how to change the tire so that when the time comes and you're caught out on the trail, you can do it quickly and efficiently. First things first, I'm going to take you through where all the bits and pieces are in the boot over here. So the beautiful thing about this Land Cruiser 200 series is that all the tools are located in these awesome hidden compartments. Everything is kept nice and neat and clean. The first compartment over here on the right is the attachment to drop the spare wheel. So I'm going to use the tailgate as a little working surface to put all the tools out and get everything ready. So the spare wheel lowering kit is just these 4 rods that interconnect to each other. Okay, and these guys all just interlock together, and these bolts you tighten up with a star screwdriver just to make sure things don't fall apart. This last piece goes on the top here. And you just tighten them up. Okay. And at the end of this side is a little ridge that goes into the back of the tailgate, which clips into place and enables you to lower the spare wheel. So the next step after we've connected this lowering kit rod is to get the jack out. Now the jack is located in the right hand side at the back of the boot. Once again, incredibly nice and neat, hidden away here in the back. Alright, so the jack is held in place by this little rubber thingy-majiggy, and you just unclip that and then loosen the jack a bit. Alright, so I'm just going to pull the jack out here, place it on the tailgate, and stick this cover back for now. The way we're going to use the extension rod is at the back of the tailgate over here, there's a little hole located. You just got to lift this flap and insert the extension rod, and basically it just clips into place. You got to wiggle it around a little bit. There we go, that's into place. And then just use a little bit of leverage over here. All right, so just keep turning and you can see the spare wheel lowering there. Okay, so just as it's lowering. Okay, so now the chain's loose. This is the first time you actually got to get your hands dirty. You got to reach right inside the center of the spare wheel here, follow the chain down, and grab this metal piece that holds the spare wheel in place. There we go, so that's all loosened up. There's actually a little hook over here which you can put this metal thing onto to get it out of the way. Then we pull the wheel out. And this is just the little protector piece. We can pop that there for now. Bring the spare wheel around to where we're going to be working. So I'm just going to grab the wheel spanner, also anti-clockwise, and this might take a little bit of power. Okay, cool, there we go. First one down. All right, so we've just loosened all the wheel nuts, and I'm going to move over onto the jack. So what I've done is I've already just raised it up a little bit. So actually what it tells you is probably one of the most important things of where the contact point is to put the jack underneath the car. So obviously we're working on the rear wheel at the moment, so there's a little section underneath the axle that you can slip this into, and you can see these ridges over here actually align directly with that little notch on the rear axle. All right, so I'm going to stick this guy underneath the car, just locate that specific point on the axle, and in my opinion, I always just like to work from the side of the car. It's a lot easier to access, and it's probably safer depending on what conditions you're in. If you're on an incline or anything like that, it's just easier to work on the side of the car. All right, so I'm just going to slide in underneath the side of the car here, locate the section on the rear axle, so the ridges on the top of the jack will line up nicely with this little contact point on the back of the rear axle of the 200 series. So basically the principle for this is just to keep the jack secure and in contact with the axle so it's not moving around. There you go, slots in nicely, exactly into the grooves of the connection point and obviously on the jack. Okay, so now that the jack is secure, I'm just going to come and get the extension rod again. This is the wheel lowering extension rod that we connected before, and this little hook over here connects onto the jack just to give you a bit of leverage to raise the car. So we're going to connect this onto the jack at the back here, line up the hook with the jack and connect it in there. Now we've got our leverage to raise up the car. And just going to line it up and then start winding. Okay, so you can see the wheels off the ground. Now we're just going to have to loosen the wheel nuts a bit more to get the wheel off. For me, what I like to do is I like to start at the bottom and work my way around to the top. What happens if you leave the top for last is it just make sure that the wheel doesn't fall forwards onto you while you're busy trying to loosen the bolts. Go. Alright, so we just got the last bolt here, just using my foot as a holder to keep the wheel straight up so it doesn't fall over as I'm taking the last bolt off. You got to be careful because this wheel is super heavy, so we're just going to move this stuff to the side like this. I'm going to stand up, just brace myself, pop this guy off, pull it out. I'm going to roll it to the side over here, put it down, and just slide it underneath the chassis over there, just as a safety precaution to keep it, if something does happen to the jack and the wheel falls down, the whole car falls down, it's going to land on that tire. Cool, so we're going to grab the spare wheel, going to bring it as close as possible, going to get down here. Okay, so the trick is just to line it up with the bolts, and what I like to do is I like to just keep it in place with my feet, get a little bit closer, use my arms on my knees and the bottom of my feet just to lift it up and just pop it onto the bolts like that. Just is a little bit easier so you get nice leverage. And then once again, we just start at the top and work our way down to the bottom so that the wheel doesn't fall towards us. I'm also just keeping my feet in place here, just holding the wheel in so nothing can go wrong. You know, there's obviously different situations that you might find yourself in that the tire goes flat, whether you're on the side of the road, out in the bush. You always got to just be, you know, aware of your surroundings, especially if your tire goes flat on the side of the highway or something like that. The first thing you got to do is try and position yourself in the safest possible place to be able to change the tire. You know, whether it's a slightly more level surface, a little bit more off the road, into the yellow line. But yeah, just always be aware of your surroundings so that you don't make it more dangerous for yourself when you're trying to change a spare wheel. All right, so just make sure it's finger tight then. We're gonna grab the wheel spanner and just nip it into place. We're not gonna tighten it now, we're just nipping it into place because you don't want to tighten it and exert too much force while the car's still on the jack. Things might go wrong there. So just nipping it into place just so that the wheel settles nicely into its position. All right, so we've just nipped these bolts tight. The wheel's settled in nicely there. We're gonna grab this flat tire, pull it out from under the car, and this is when we're gonna lower the jack and lower the car back down onto the ground. Okay, so we're just gonna lower the car back down. The wheel's touching the ground again. Okay, so we just lowered the car, wheels touching the ground again, and we're just gonna quickly get the jack out. Chin, pull it out. There we go. We can just set all this stuff together here by the spare wheel. And now we're gonna just tighten the wheel properly into place. And what you need to do is you just need to go star across each nut so that you're tightening it evenly into place. So always go from the opposite nut to the opposite nut. Okay, one last little nip. Okay, so we just made sure all the bolts are tight. We're just going to collect all our tools, put them into the back of the car, and then we can get going. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is just pop the little middle cap of the wheel out so that we can connect this back onto the underside of the car. A little trick that I've learned is in the tool kit is this little lever, and you can just pop the metal ring out using this guy, grab this, and then put these two clamps together. Put these two clamps together, just force that guy out. Okay, so we just pop that middle cap out. I'm gonna flip the wheel around. And then this is just a little protective rubber, protect the wheel from knocking against the top of the car. Slide this guy underneath. Gonna disconnect the adapter, put it in through the middle of the car, make sure it's facing up the right way. And now we're ready to raise the wheel. Just gonna put all our tools back in the car. Okay, so we're gonna grab this extension lowering kit again. We're gonna fit the other adapter, the one that connects into the back of the tailgate here. Okay, so we've got the wheel underneath and we're just about to raise it up, but this little ridge over here needs to lock into one of the wheel nut holes so that the whole bracket can actually sit properly on the wheel, so that it's not a safety hazard and it can't come loose. So we're just gonna slide this guy in here, and it's a little bit loose, so we're just gonna feel around. Okay, cool, there you go, we've got it linked up. So that's all connected right in place, and you can see the wheels coming up pretty evenly, which means that the bracket's holding it securely in place. Okay, we're gonna make sure this thing is nipped up 100% tight. We don't want any spare wheels coming off while we're driving. I'm gonna take this bracket out, disconnect all the rods, and just set them down here for now. We'll pack everything away and we can get going. So we just packed all the tools away, lowered down the jack, and we can stick this guy back in its little cubby hole. Snip this cover back in. Make sure everything's nice and neat. We've got our little cap, we don't want to lose this guy. Keep it in the boot there. All the tools are packed nicely. Secure the box. Open up our nice hidden compartment here. Slide the toolbox in there, secure everything. And that's pretty much the process of changing a Land Cruiser 200 series tire. All right, so everything's packed away nice and neatly in its place again. And yeah, that's pretty much the process of changing a Land Cruiser 200 series tire. As you can see, there's a few little tips and tricks to take into consideration. And as I mentioned before, just please be aware of your surroundings if you are to find yourself in the unfortunate circumstance of having to change your tire. And yeah, I hope this video has helped you, make the process a little bit easier, and catch you guys out on the trails.